The boardroom was full. Rich men in expensive suits sat around a long, shiny table. Laughter echoed through the room. Coffee cups clinked, and jokes were flying from one end to the other. No one noticed the old man pushing his cleaning cart quietly through the door. His name was Mr. Kareem. He was the janitor, just the janitor, as everyone liked to say. He had been working in this company for more than 30 years. Every morning, he mopped the same floors, emptied the same trash cans, and walked the same lonely halls. Most people didn't even know his name. To them, he was just the man with the mop. Today, the board was having an important meeting. The company had made record profits this year, and they were planning to expand. But behind that success, there was also talk of cutting jobs. Layoffs. "We need to get rid of the weak links," one of the executives had said earlier. Mr. Kareem entered the boardroom slowly, his back a little bent, his face calm. He started mopping near the back wall, trying not to disturb anyone. He had done this hundreds of times before. No one ever cared. Until today. One of the younger board members, maybe in his early 30s, looked at Kareem and smirked. "Hey, old man," he said loudly. "Careful. Don't slip on your own mop water." The room burst into laughter. Another one added, "Why is he even here during the meeting? Shouldn't he be outside cleaning toilets?" More laughter. Mr. Kareem paused. He didn't look at them. He just kept mopping slowly, finishing his task like always. But something was different this time. He walked to the side of the room, reached into his cleaning cart, and pulled out an old, dusty folder. The laughter died down a little. He placed the folder gently on the boardroom table, between two shocked executives. Then he looked up, straight at the CEO. "I know something about this company," Kareem said quietly. The room went silent. Everyone stared at him, confused. What was the janitor talking about? "I know something you all tried to forget," he continued, "but I didn't forget. I couldn't." The CEO narrowed his eyes. "What is this, some kind of joke?" Kareem shook his head slowly. "No, but your success, your fancy suits, they were all built on a lie. A lie you told 20 years ago." The folder was still closed. The youngest board member laughed again. "What's in there, your lunch?" But Kareem didn't smile. He placed a hand on the folder and said, "This is the truth. A truth that will break this company into pieces." The room froze. One woman leaned forward slowly. "What are you talking about?" Kareem looked around the room, locking eyes with every person sitting at the table. "You don't remember me," he said softly. "But I was here before any of you. I helped build this company. I was not always a janitor." Murmurs began to spread across the room. People looked at each other, unsure. The CEO frowned. "Enough. Leave this room." But Kareem stood tall. "I stayed quiet for 20 years. I cleaned your mess every day. But today, I cleaned something else. The truth." A quiet gasp came from the far end of the table. One older board member, Mr. Fahim, looked pale. His hands were shaking. He knew. He remembered. Kareem took a deep breath and slowly opened the folder. Inside were papers, old photos, and something else. Something that made Mr. Fahim stand up in panic. "Stop him," he shouted. But it was too late. Kareem's voice was calm. "If I speak now, this company will never be the same again." The boardroom, once full of laughter, was now filled with silence. All eyes were on the janitor. No one was laughing now. The air in the boardroom was heavy. Everyone sat frozen. No one laughed now. No one moved. Mr. Kareem, the old janitor, stood beside the boardroom table. His mop leaned quietly against the wall. But the real attention was on the old folder he had placed down in front of them. His hands gently opened it. Inside were papers yellowed with time, some typed, some handwritten, and a few black and white photographs. The CEO, Mr. Nabil, raised his voice, trying to take back control. "This is nonsense. You have no right to be here. Someone call security." But nobody moved. Even the security guard outside the door was watching quietly through the glass. Something about this moment felt different, like truth had finally knocked on a door that had been shut for too long. Kareem didn't shout. He didn't argue. He just picked up the first paper and read aloud. Contract, January 2nd, 2005. Idea proposal for a digital finance platform, submitted by Kareem Ahmed. Signed and received by then CEO, Samir Nabil. Everyone turned to look at Mr. Nabil. His face turned pale. Kareem continued. Rejected in writing. But 6 months later, the exact same platform was launched under a different name. No credit, no mention, no payment. The youngest board member, Saad, leaned forward. Wait, are you saying? Kareem nodded slowly. Yes, that idea you all call the foundation of this company, it was mine. Gasps spread across the table. A few members whispered, is this true? Kareem placed a photograph on the table. It showed him, 2 decades younger, standing beside a whiteboard, a drawing of the original app design behind him. Another document showed internal emails. Dates matched. Ideas matched. The only thing that didn't match was the name. Saad looked at Nabil. Sir, did you steal his idea? Mr. Nabil slammed his fist on the table. This is old news. That was years ago. It's not important now. But Mr. Kareem's voice cut through the room, calm but strong. It's not old for me. You took my dream. You buried my name. You turned me into a ghost who cleaned your floors while you made billions. Tears welled up in one of the lady board members' eyes. She whispered, this isn't just about money, is it? Kareem looked at her. No, it's about respect. About justice. I gave you my mind. You gave me a mop. Flashback sequence. For voiceover plus visuals. Show old images or visuals of a younger Kareem. Working late in a small room. Sketching ideas. Submitting a proposal. Being denied. Coming back as a janitor. Swallowing his pride just to feed his family. Voiceover. I stayed because I needed the job. My wife was sick. My children were young. I thought, maybe they'd remember. Maybe they'd do the right thing. Back to present boardroom. Someone from legal asks, why now? Why bring this up today? Kareem looks at him with tired eyes. Because I won't live forever. And I can't leave this world knowing I stayed silent while thieves were called geniuses. Another board member quietly opens one of the documents. His eyes go wide. It's a blueprint, the original version of the app they all make millions from today. Every feature matches. The design, the flow, even the name idea. True wallet. This is real. The man says. This is actually his. The room feels like it's spinning. The janitor they ignored for years had been the mind behind a company's biggest success. The silence is broken again, this time not by laughter, but by guilt. Mr. Nabil tries one last move. He stands, smiling nervously. Kareem, look, we were younger then. Mistakes happen. You've worked here all this time. You're part of the family. Let's settle this. Quietly. Kareem looks at him. You called me part of the family, after 20 years of silence. Nabil's voice shakes now. We'll give you money. A title. A room upstairs. But Kareem picks up his mop. I didn't come here for money. I came here for truth. What you do with that truth is up to you. And with that, he starts to walk away. But just before he leaves the room, he turns back. Your success was built on my silence. Not anymore. He walked away with the truth, but what happened next shook the company to its core. One man stood up, and another fell. Mr. Kareem walked out of the boardroom slowly, holding his mop again like it was just another day. But it wasn't. Behind him, the people in the boardroom sat in silence. The papers he left on the table burned in their minds like fire. One of them finally spoke. This is serious. The CEO, Mr. Nabil, tried to act calm, but he was sweating. He's just an old man trying to cause trouble. No one will believe a janitor. But the youngest board member, Saad, slammed his hand on the table. You lied to all of us. You told us this company was your idea, your vision. You made us believe in something fake. Others began to murmur. What if the documents are real? What if the media finds out? What if Kareem speaks to a lawyer? The meeting turned into chaos. Later that day, word spreads. Saad couldn't forget Kareem's face. He sat in his office, reading the papers over and over again. The signatures were real. The dates matched. The technical details in Kareem's blueprints were far too advanced for someone just pretending. Saad finally made a decision. He walked down to the janitor's storage room in the basement. The room was small, dusty, and dark. Kareem was sitting on an old wooden stool, quietly fixing a broken mop. Saad knocked gently. Kareem looked up, surprised, but not angry. You came, he said simply. Saad walked in. He had no tie now, no fancy jacket, just questions in his eyes. Why didn't you fight back before? Kareem smiled sadly. Because I had children to feed, a sick wife to care for, and because no one would have listened to a man with a broom in his hand. Saad sat down on a box nearby. You were right. I read everything. They stole your idea. And now, they're planning to bury it again, just like before. Kareem nodded. I knew they would. Meanwhile, in the boardroom, Mr. Nabil paced back and forth, shouting on his phone. No, I don't care if it's his idea. The company is mine now. We'll sue him for trespassing if we have to. Just keep him quiet. He hung up and looked at the others. We release a press statement tomorrow. We say he's a confused old man. We deny everything. Understood. One of the older board members, Mr. Fahim, finally stood up. This is not right. Nabil glared at him. Don't grow a spine now. You were there when we took that idea. You signed it too. Fahim looked down. His hands shook. I regret it every day. Back to Kareem and Saad. Saad had an idea. You still have everything, right? The documents, the emails, the patents. Kareem opened a small metal drawer. Inside were USB drives, copies, even an old voice recorder with a saved conversation from years ago. Saad stared at it. This could destroy them, but it needs a voice, a story. People will believe you now. Kareem looked unsure. I'm not a speaker. I don't know how to go public. Saad smiled. I do. The next morning, the earthquake begins. A video appeared online. A simple video. No effects. No music. Just Kareem, sitting in his cleaning uniform, holding the folder. He spoke slowly, honestly, from the heart. My name is Kareem Ahmed. For 30 years, I cleaned your floors. But once, I built your foundation. And then, you erased me. The video showed proof. The signed contracts, emails, photos, voice clips. By afternoon, it had over 2 million views. News channels started calling. Reporters stood outside the company headquarters. And inside, panic. Inside the boardroom, the collapse begins. Investors started pulling out. A government official arrived for an investigation. Shareholders demanded answers. Nabil stood in the middle of the boardroom, shouting, blaming others. But no one defended him now. One by one, board members left the room, until he was alone. Final scene of part 3. The shift of power. Saad walked into the room calmly. You lied. You stole. And now, it's over. Nabil laughed bitterly. You think the world cares about a janitor. Saad put a document on the table. This is a vote. Majority of the board has signed it. You're being removed as CEO. Nabil's face dropped. Saad walked out and said just one thing before closing the door. Turns out, the janitor wasn't cleaning the floors. He was cleaning the truth. It had been just 2 days since Kareem's video went viral, but everything had changed. His name was on every news channel. Every headline read the same. Janitor, who-foundmul tied BYLLIO and Company, fine ALOIS PAKs out. Truth behind THC giant XPOZD by forgotten ingenious. Cameras followed him when he walked down the street. Reporters knocked on his door nonstop. He received letters, emails, phone calls, even flowers. Some people cried after hearing his story. Others said it inspired them to stand up in their own lives. But not all the attention was good. Scene 2. The warning. One night, Kareem was sitting in his tiny kitchen. A knock came at the door. He opened it to find a plain white envelope on the ground. No sender, no stamp. Inside was a single piece of paper. You had your moment. Now disappear before someone makes you. He stared at it for a long time. He had expected pushback, but this felt different. This was a threat. Scene 3. The offer. The next day, a luxury black car pulled up to his home. A man in a sharp suit stepped out. He introduced himself as a representative from the original company, now under new leadership, Saad's leadership. I come with an offer, the man said. The board has approved compensation. He placed a check on the table. Ours 15 crore. Kareem stared at it. His hand trembled. For the pain, for the silence, and we want you to join the company again. This time, not as a janitor, but as a co-founder, with full honor. It felt like a dream. All those years, all that pain. And now, a seat at the very table that once laughed at him. Scene 4. The speech. A week later, the company held a public event. Not in a fancy hotel, not on a private yacht, but in the company's own office, where Kareem had once cleaned toilets and washed windows. This time, he stood on a stage, wearing a simple clean shirt, not a suit. But the crowd was standing for him, clapping, crying. Even some employees had tears in their eyes. Kareem took the mic. I don't need a corner office. I don't need a title. I only want one thing, for no other worker to be forgotten like I was. He paused. Innovation doesn't only come from the top floor. Sometimes, it comes from the basement. Thunderous applause. People began chanting his name. Kareem, Kareem, Kareem. Scene 5. But shadows still linger. As the event ended, Saad approached Kareem. We did it, he smiled. But Kareem wasn't smiling. Not yet. Saad looked confused. Kareem pointed to the crowd. The company has changed on the outside, but some of the old people are still inside. Scene 6. The Mole. That night, Kareem received a call from an unknown number. A whispering voice said, "Be careful. Someone inside is trying to bury you again. They don't want the world to see you win." Click. The call ended. Kareem's hands clenched. They had taken his dream once. Now that he had it back, he wasn't letting go. Scene 7. The Trap. Kareem and Saad began to dig deeper. They checked board documents, internal transfers, and secret files from the past few years. What they found shocked them. Millions of rupees had been quietly funneled into fake departments, names Kareem didn't recognize, accounts that didn't exist. Saad's voice was shaking. Someone's been stealing. For years, even after you exposed the truth. Kareem narrowed his eyes. And they thought I wouldn't find it, because I used to carry a mop. Scene 8. Preparing for the final war. Kareem knew what had to be done. He recorded another video. This story isn't over. It was never just about me. It's about every voice that was silenced. About every small man who was made to feel invisible. To the one hiding in the shadows. This time, I see you. He looked straight into the camera. And I'm coming. The office building was almost empty. It was late. Kareem stood alone on the top floor, holding a small flash drive. Inside it, proof, the final piece of evidence, the hidden account, the stolen funds, and the name behind it all. He walked toward the boardroom, the same boardroom where they once laughed at him, the same room where he dropped the folder, the same room where the story began. But he wasn't alone. The lights flickered, and from the shadows, a man stepped out. Not Saad, not a stranger. It was Mr. Fahim, the quiet old board member who once acted innocent. Kareem stopped. "I knew it," he said calmly. "You were the last one." Fahim sighed. "You were never supposed to come back. That idea was worth billions. You were just a janitor. What would you have done with it?" Kareem's eyes filled with fire. "I would have built it. I would have changed lives, just like I still will." Fahim took a step forward. "You're not walking out with that drive." Kareem looked him in the eye. "You think I came up here alone?" He tapped his pocket. A hidden mic. Downstairs, Saad and 2 investigators were listening live. The doors burst open. Security entered. Fahim tried to run, but it was over. They took him away, shouting, blaming, begging. Final moment. 1 year later. A large stage, a huge crowd. A banner reads, "National Innovation Awards, honoring forgotten geniuses." Kareem stands on stage, but he doesn't wear a suit. He wears a clean janitor's uniform, his choice. He looks at the crowd, eyes misty. You may start small, you may be invisible, but if your heart is clean and your truth is strong, they can steal your idea, but they can't steal your soul. He raises his award, then lowers his eyes and whispers, "This is for every silent dreamer, still sweeping floors in the dark."